Okay, everyone, welcome to How to Write Your Own Money-Making Websites. And today we are going to do a kind of review of everything that we've talked about, everything we've gone through. And then I'm just going to show, well, in part, as part of this process, I'm going to share some of the resources I use. And at the end, I'm going to share a bunch more of the resources that I use, some of which I think would be very helpful to you as we move along. And this is probably the slide deck that I update the most because I keep changing the tools. And sometimes the tools change on us. Like I was reading, there was something I quickly read in the Facebook group that Neil Patel's Uber Suggest. I haven't read the post, but by the look of it, it sounds like maybe they're going to start charging for that, which is a pain. And it just keeps happening. You find these wonderful resources that are either free or nearly free, and then before you know it, they put a price tag on it, and then before you know that, they start putting huge price tags on it, and then at that point, I start removing them from the resource list because we don't want to spend a ton of money doing what we do here. So, quick review of the sessions and everything we've gone through, and I know one or two of you will still be at the early stage. So, choosing your topic, pick a topic that really interests you. Be a little cautious about the natural health topic because of the Google Medic update. I mentioned that. So if you have an alternative health-related topic, make sure that you're constantly citing references and you're not just coming up with crazy health claims like, eating 10 bananas a day makes you live longer without some kind of reference material to back that claim up, because Google, for whatever reason, doesn't like that. And with regard to topics that really interest you, I used to have a website called Headphones Best Buys. I don't have it anymore because it turns out I'm not that interested. I have very passive, still existing, but I haven't touched the Bad Plastics website for years because, again, it just didn't hold my interest over the long term. So super important that you choose a topic. The topic you have is something that you feel is going to interest you in the long term. Session 2, the platform. This is where we were looking at, alternatives like blogging, platforms that are principally blogging like WordPress, or otherwise kind of traditional websites, websites that are not. Now, this whole thing has become big gray area, big overlap, because WordPress started out with blogging, but now you can build a complete website on WordPress and you can include your blog there, or indeed you can build just a blog with WordPress, or you can build just a website with WordPress and not have a blog there at all. So lots of kind of blurring between traditional websites and blogging these days. Platform resources. I said a few weeks ago when we were looking at this, and I kind of repeat over the years that there are lots of different options out there, but there are two that I have a lot of experience with and that I feel super comfortable recommending. One is for a website, is Solo Build It, SBI. It's not a great platform for blogging. So SBI, I think, is Coffee Detective is built using Solo Build It. And the blogging page really is just a kind of update of here's the new content. It's not really a traditional blog. So if you want blogging as an element, then you should probably go for WordPress, wordpress.org, not wordpress.com. If you are using WordPress and you download the WordPress from wordpress.org, you're going to want a theme. A theme I can recommend is GeneratePress. It's one that I use on all my other websites. And Nepotism Alert is developed by my son Thomas, but is very good. And the bottom right there, Solo Build It for WordPress. This is a Solo Build It plugin where you can actually get the best of both worlds. So you actually build a WordPress website, and then you pay for the Solo Build It plugin, which gives you a lot of the resources that are within the Solo Build It environment. So super interesting combination there. So you can explore that, play around, have a look. I have noticed within the discussions over the last little while on the Facebook group that some people are wandering off to one or two other platforms, one or two of which I wasn't familiar with, a couple of which I was thinking, oh, really? Gosh, I hope that turns out okay. You know, there are a lot of platforms out there. They're not all of them ideally suited to what we do here, which is why I kind of keep my recommendations pretty skinny. If you want to do SBI, the Solo Build It, here's how you get $75 off that new subscription. The link is at the bottom. If you want to get the Solo Build It for WordPress, this is the plugin I talked about, you can get 50% off through that link. And again, it's for the yearly subscription. All right, so either way, you've got a deal there with Solo Build It, whether you go with the Solo Build It platform or whether you get the Solo Build It plugin for WordPress. Right, so session 3, we talked about content, links, and SEO. These slides I got here now, they keep shrinking. I used to feature as for links a site called Cognitive SEO, which is fantastic for link building, but that has become, they're putting less and less emphasis on link building, and they're becoming more and more expensive. I was just looking before this call began at another site called Majestic that is really good for links and link building, but their pricing is just going up the roof. I mean, through the roof. It's just insane now. It's hundreds and hundreds of dollars a year. So it's kind of nuts. Like I say, the same thing perhaps will happen with Uber Suggest, is where a tool starts off free or almost free, and then they keep pushing the price up. So my job, and you can help, you guys, if you come across tools and resources that look good and they're at that early stage where they're either free or almost free, let us know, let me know, and let others know. So this slide here, this doesn't really apply if you're building your website now. But let's say, I know one or two of you have older websites that you want to kind of upgrade or move up into a money-making website. If that's the case, if you have existing websites from a few years ago and they are not HTTPS, so actually a slight irony here. If you look at the bottom, you see the URL at the bottom says http://. It's an abbreviated link there. The P without the S. The S stands for secure. And if you go to any modern website, if you go to Coffee Detective, go to nickosborne.com, go to awai.com, you'll find there HTTPS. It's just a level of security that's built into the website, and you have a kind of security certificate. And certainly Google and the other search engines give you a thumbs up for that S, and they'll give you a thumbs down if you don't have it, if you're just HTTP without the S for security. There's different there's stuff happening in the background. It's not just with or without the S. Just make sure if you have an older site, speak to your host, like Bluehost or whoever it is, and say, hey, I need to upgrade from HTTP to HTTPS, and they will either do it for you or show you how to do it. It shouldn't cost you anything. But like I say, if you have an older site, if you're working on an older site and it doesn't have the S there up in the domain name address, then make sure you do that, because it'll make a difference. So content, links, and SEO, like I say, I pulled out. I used to have Cognitive SEO. I used to have Majestic on this slide and this slide after, but I've taken them out because they're just getting crazy expensive. One thing that is still free is wordtracker.com/scout. I mentioned this before. This is an extension that you can add to Chrome. I'm not sure about all browsers, but it's free. And what this does is, like I've gone to a site on a page, my books page at nickosborne.com, and then I click the Word Tracker Scout extension link in my browser, and then I'm not that interested in the page summary, but Insights is kind of interesting, because what it's going to show me now is the page title, the H1 heading, in other words, my principal headline, and my description. So the title tag and the description are meta tags we've talked about, and the H1 headline is the visible headline on the page. And then under there, you can see a whole bunch of different the keywords that are relevant on that page. So just really interesting. There's a couple of things you can do here. But what I might do, for instance, is I could just run through all the principal pages on nickosborne.com and use Word Tracker Scout to just make sure that my titles headlines and descriptions were in good shape, that I wasn't missing any of that, because those are all essential components on a page. The other thing you could do is, if you were competing with me, you could go to my website and you could open up your Word Tracker Scout extension, and you could spy on me. You could have a little look at my title. You could see how, what game I was playing here, what keywords I was optimizing for. You can see the tabs across the top: Page Summary, Insights, Keywords. Click on that tab, and you'll start seeing the keywords that I'm optimizing for on that page. So I've talked about this before, the competitive analysis thing of going to competitors' websites. So I've said for Coffee Detective, Roasty Coffee is a competitor that I want to catch up with. So I could get a Roasty Coffee. I could use Word Tracker Scout, this extension, and I could check out their pages and see, particularly their kind of principal pages, to see what keywords they're optimizing for. I could check out their titles, their H1 headlines, their descriptions, things like that. Again, it's just really useful research when you're trying to create good pages, find equivalent good pages on other websites, and use something like Word Tracker Scout. And like I say, it's free, and kind of dig in and see what they're doing, so that you can not necessarily copy, but you can certainly learn from what your competitors are doing. So that's really useful. Content tools and resources for content creation. Organizing your content ideas. See that little smiley face there? I put the smiley face next to resources and services that I personally use and like, which is why they make me smile. So this one is xmind.net. This is a mind mapping tool. I use this a lot. I think I've mentioned this before about when we were talking about content. And there's that URL again at the bottom, download/win, and I think there's a download/Mac. I don't know about the Mac, but I assume Win is the Windows version. Incidentally, if you go to xmind.net, you won't find a free version of this. It's all paid. If you go to that URL, you will find that you can still, in fact, download a free version, which is what I have. Now, it sounds like I'm a complete cheapskate when I keep talking about looking for free tools. And I guess I am in a sense. But on the other hand, the model we're working on here, the money-making website model, where we are building a site, we are we're investing a lot of time and effort into creating great content. But we don't, because of the nature of the model where we want to generate passive income from that traffic and attention, we don't want to spend a ton of money, say, on advertising. We don't want to spend a ton of money on tools and resources if we can help it, because that really cuts into our margins in terms of our net profits from the website. So I try to keep the cost of services as low as I can, so that when at the end of the year I add up my revenue from Coffee Detective, I don't then have to subtract $5,000 for the cost of tools and resources. You can get something like, oh well, it's only $30 a month, but hey, that adds up over the year. And if you're going to have 3 or 4 different services at that price point, all of a sudden you're spending $5,000 or $10,000 a year on stuff. So I do, if I can. I mean, there are some things that I pay for, like Solo Build It. I pay my whatever it is, $300 a year subscription, and that's a kind of base price that I'm happy to pay for all the stuff that's included there. Anyway, this is, in terms of mind mapping, I find mind mapping super, super useful. In fact, I have, behind this on my laptop, I have 2 different mind maps open at the moment. One is helping me put together a presentation that I'm going to be giving at boot camp in May. So for that presentation, I've created a mind map to organize the information and ideas for what I'm going to share in that presentation. I have a separate mind map for a course that I'm working on, a new course I'm working on right now, and I use this xmind.net to organize information for the different sections and lectures within that course. It's really cool because I can move around sequences, I can drag and drop stuff around the page, I can attach URLs and files and images to particular entries within that mind map. So really, really interesting. Have a look, download it, poke around, see what you can do with it. But I'll tell you why I'm a big fan with this in particular. mind mapping is that if the last decades have taught me anything when it comes to writing, anything longer than a page, it could be an ebook, or it could be a presentation, or it could be a full-length book, or it could be a course. Anything that goes beyond a few pages, I have found that the more time you invest in preparation, in organizing the content for whatever it is, the more time you spend in preparation, the easier and better the outcome. I made the mistake once. I was writing a relatively short book. It was like an ebook, about 100 pages. And I kind of skimped on the organizing in advance in the mind mapping time. And that project probably took 3 times as long as it should do. Because I was like halfway through it. I thought, well, hang on. Am I repeating myself? Isn't this back where I was in chapter 3? And I had to rewrite the whole thing, and it was just a mess. So I use mind mapping as a way to absolutely sort out the sequence and the content of the entire project from beginning to end. I'll happily spend 70% or 75% of my time just on the mind mapping. Because I know that once I've got that right, when I sit down now to write the course, the book, whatever it is, I just start from the top and work my way down. I print out the mind map. And basically, I've already got now my chapter headings, my subheads. I got everything, the whole book or the whole course or whatever it is, presentation organized. And I just now have to fill in the blanks, and it just makes it super easy. So a tip for you, more time spent in preparation is good. Working with images. All right, hang on, a little slurp of water. So when you build your website, you're going to want some images. You don't want just text. Maybe you'll have some videos. Images you can get from a variety of places. We're going to get to that. I'm going to do the next slide, I believe, is kind of resources for where to find some of those images. But when you get them, you have to work with them. So let's say for Coffee Detective, I go out for a coffee and I buy some fancy coffee and I take a photograph of it. Or maybe there's 3 of us having coffee, and I just take a picture of the table with the 3 different coffees, and I'm going to put that up on Coffee Detective. I don't want to just upload that original image to Coffee Detective, because that image might be, say, 3 megabytes in size, and it might be 6,000 pixels wide, which is an insane size. It's an insane file size. Now, I can kind of drag and fit it into the page, but now I have this 2 or 3 megabyte file sitting on that page. And what that does is it makes that page load very slowly. If I have 3 images like that on a page, the page is now going to load very, very slowly. And people hate slow loading pages, and Google dislikes slow loading pages. One of the 200 things that Google looks at when it's determining where you will appear on the search results for any given keyword is how quickly does your page load. Fast is good, slow is not good. Not good for humans, not good for Google. So you have to work with that image. So if I have an image for Coffee Detective, my columns are about 700 pixels wide. So I will take my original image. I will, in fact, in my case, I use that Adobe product, Adobe Photoshop Elements. I don't need the full professional Photoshop. Photoshop Elements is the kind of light version, not terribly expensive. There's the URL there. I'm just really used to using Photoshop Elements. And I will resize it, that huge image from my camera. I will upload that image into Photoshop. I will, instead of it being 6,000 pixels wide, I'll take it down to 700 pixels wide. I might crop it, play around with it. I might adjust the brightness, the contrast, the hue. There's all kinds of ways where I can improve on that image. And now I have an image at about 700 pixels wide, but it's still a pretty large image. So in working down the left-hand side, there's a function there called Save for Web. And I'm going to click that. I'm not just going to save it as a JPEG. I'm going to save it for the web. It'll still be a JPEG. But I'll save it for the web. And what happens there is Photoshop in the background will reduce the size of that file. And they'll do that actually by removing a ton of pixels from the page. So you can actually remove a lot of the pixels from an image. And to the naked eye, it looks exactly the same, but it massively reduces the file size. So I'm going to go from 6,000 pixels wide to 700 pixels wide. I'm going to save for the web, which reduces my file size dramatically. And now I have a perfectly nice looking image on my page, and my page is going to load quickly. One way or another, you have to do that. There's other ways of doing that. If I go down a bit to where at the bottom where it says Canva, and on the right, Get Stencil. Now, Canva I've used a lot. Get Stencil I haven't, but it looks, I've poked around, played around, it looks like Canva, but maybe a little bit better. So you can go to one of those, you sign up, it's very inexpensive. It's not, actually I believe Get Stencil is maybe free still. I think Canva, it costs you a little bit. The Adobe Photoshop Elements costs you more. But let's say try Get Stencil, go there, play around, follow some tutorials or something. They have a huge photo library anyway, and they'll show you how to shape and optimize those images for Facebook, for Instagram, for your website. You'll be able to edit those images within Get Stencil. You'll be able to reduce the file size. You can do that with Canva as well. So 3 options there, and maybe you can find more, either the Adobe route or the Canva or the Get Stencil. Like I say, there's original images wherever you get them from, whether they're your images or you get them elsewhere. You need to bring them down to the correct size to fit your page, and you need to bring the file size down from those massive, image, those massive, mega, 5, 6 megapixel images you get from your camera. Top right there, slightly separate here, and that is from TechSmith, and it's called Jing. Jing is free. Jing is this wonderful tool where you can actually grab, it's like a screen capture, but it's super flexible, and it allows you to grab a part of an image on your screen. Actually, you can grab some video as well if you want, but I basically use it for grabbing parts of images, an image of part of a page that I'm looking at. I was using that this morning as part of the presentation I'm putting together in PowerPoint. I was grabbing kind of examples from the web. I was using Jing to copy those images, and then I was just pasting them into my PowerPoint. I could actually save them. I can actually write on those images. I can stick arrows on those images. There's all kinds of stuff. So check out Jing at techsmith.com. Free, super useful. I probably use the Jing tool probably most days of the week, and I have done for years. So a really useful kind of day-to-day tool. And like I say, favorite because it's free. Working with images all right, so this is in part working with images, in part finding images. The one on the left, the dancing lady on the beach, that short URL there, that'll actually take you to WordPress, a Word Tracker resource page on, it's like 10 different places where you can find free, royalty-free photos online. So I've seen in the Facebook group people saying, hey, where can I get free images? Where can I get free images? Go to that, copy that URL with the dancing lady on the beach, and you will find a whole bunch of places where you can get free images. All right. On the right, another kind of listicle, 23 tools and resources to create images for social media. You can check that one out. Snapseed at the bottom with my smiley face, slightly different. It's like, I was talking about Photoshop Elements. Snapseed is the same kind of thing, but for your phone. So if I want to just quickly share an image let's say I take a picture with my phone, and then I want to share that image on Facebook, on Instagram, through Messenger with friends or family, whatever. If it's just a quick snapshot, I'll just share the image. But let's say it's going up to Instagram and I actually want to size the image properly for Instagram, and I also want to maybe play around with things like contrast, brightness, color, all that kind of stuff. I open that image with Snapseed, which is an app that sits on my phone. And Snapseed, even though it's an app on my phone, is, if anything, I prefer it to Photoshop. It is amazingly simple to use. I'm just using my thumb. I'm just tapping and dragging dragging sliders for like contrast and brightness and stuff, and I can crop an image. I can change the, from vertical to horizontal. I can flip it. I can do pretty much anything I can do in Photoshop. I can do in Snapseed, and Snapseed is a free app that I have on my phone. I've actually been known to, rather than use Photoshop, sometimes if I have an image that I've taken on my phone, let's say I'm out to lunch, I have some coffee, I take a picture. I want to share it on my website. Rather than downloading the full image to my computer and then working on it with Photoshop, sometimes I will just open up Snapseed on my phone. I will do all of the optimization and work on that image I want to do within Snapseed in terms of sizing, cropping, playing around with like I say, brightness, color, whatever. I will then save it, and I'll send it to myself as an email. And then I'll use that, I'll take it straight from the email and straight then into the Coffee Detective website. In other words, I won't use any kind of tool on my laptop, on my business computer like Photoshop. I can just do everything. I can take the photograph and edit the photograph and size the photograph all on my phone using the camera and then Snapseed. And now I have an image that's ready to upload to my website. So lots of super cool stuff for you there. Two more slightly different stuff happening here. On the left-hand side, this is Scoop Shot. So Scoop Shot, so let me just explain how I came to know Scoop Shot and how I used it. On Coffee Detective, I was going to write an article on, I wanted to do a long article on different ways that people prepare coffee in different parts of the world. And honestly, I didn't really know what they were, and I had no idea where I'd get images. So over I go to Scoop Shot, and I sign up as like a kind of publisher looking for photographs, and I put out a request and say, hey, look, I have a coffee website. I'm looking for pictures of, unusual, unexpected ways of making coffee. In other words, not with a drip brewer, not with a French press, not the usual kind of North American, European ways. What other ways around the world are there to make coffee? And if you know of it, please take a photograph. So the thing with Scoop Shot is then every time I put out a request, a task they call it, so I'll publish a task. Every time that's happened, I've had about 200 responses. Oh, hang on. Okay. Sorry about that. I had to sneeze. I think I may have hit the mute button slightly late on that one. It was Scoop Shot. So I published the task. I get about 200 replies, and I paid nothing. This is people all over the world, usually with their smartphones, and they'll take these pictures. Now, I had these amazing pictures of all these different ways to make coffee, Vietnamese coffee making and sock coffee making, all these different ways. And then I have these I got these 200 photographs, and then I choose. Now, I tell them in advance how much I'm prepared to pay for an image that I would use. And I found that if I said I'll give you $2, hang on, I'm going to sneeze again. I don't know where that's coming from. Hopefully I hit the mute button in time on that one. So in advance you say, hey, how much? Here's how much I'll pay for an image that I will use. And I can actually do it for free, but then it's not my image. Anyone else can use the same image. If I want exclusive use of that image, then I will pay. And I found the sweet spot was around $6 or $7. So I'm going to say to someone, like, if I use your image, I'm going to pay you $6 for that image, and I'm going to have copyright on that image. It's not like it doesn't become a library image that others can use. It's just mine for $6. Now, you may think, oh, $6, that's a lot for the image, to which I would reply, really? Like, go back 20 years. Go back to when I was in an ad agency, and if I wanted a picture of someone making Vietnamese coffee in Saigon, I would have to find an agency that had a photographer on their books in Saigon who would go out, and I'd be billed like $10,000 or something to get that image. Because this isn't like a library, this isn't like a royalty-free stock image. I'm asking someone to take an original image just for me. So, $6 or $7 or $8, $10 for that is an absolute bargain. So I don't generally like using stock images that anyone and everyone uses. You've probably seen on the web, you'll go, you'll see the same image being used by different companies in different ads, different places. And it's because it's a stock image. People have free access to it. I would rather have original content on my website. So I don't do it all the time, but if I have something specific, like particularly if it involves, I put out a task on outdoor coffee. I was interested, particularly like in Europe or forest, people sitting outside, outside cafes. I was looking for, coffee drinkers in Paris with like maybe the Eiffel Tower in the background, that kind of stuff. So that was a task I put out. And again, I would say, I'll pay $7 or $8 if I use the image. So Scoop Shot can be really cool. Now, of course, if you're an avid photographer, you can do the other side of the equation and take images and sell them. So check out Scoop Shot. Use Loom, totally different, smiley face, because I use it myself a lot. And that is, if I want to, it's a kind of screen capture video tool. So if I wanted to, say, show you how to do something in WordPress and record it as a video with my mouse moving around and my voiceover and maybe a little picture in the bottom left-hand corner, a little image of me talking at the same time, live, I could go to Use Loom, I could start it, and it'll say, well, do you want, the whole frame? And I'll say yes. And then I'll start recording, and I'll start moving and say, okay, if you're going to do this in WordPress, you click here, then you click here, then you click here. And it's recording everything that's happening on the screen. It's recording my voice, and the camera's recording me, my face at the same time. So you feel that I'm really giving you one-on-one instruction on this. This may or may not be relevant to you, but I find it to be super useful, when I need that kind of work done. So session 4, that was all about content and stuff, building traffic. Remember, strong SEO, be active in social media, and attract quality links from quality sites and blogs. This is the summary. This is the secret. This is all you have to do. This is literally all you have to do. Strong SEO, active in social media, quality links from quality sites. And I'm going to sneeze again. Hang on a second. Okay, hopefully that is it. We will see. So yeah, honestly, this is the secret to success with a money-making website, just here in those few words. So, moving on. Learn from social media. Again, I've mentioned this before. If you have a Facebook page, not your personal profile page, but if you create a Facebook page for your website or your business, then you have access on the little navigation tabs at the top to Insights. And when you go to Insights, you can look at the overview, you can look at likes, reach, visits, posts, people, etc. There's all kinds of stuff you can learn here about your most popular posts. You can also boost, you can spend money to boost your posts if you want to. But I can do that to look at, okay, who are these people? What gender are they? What age group are they? Where are they coming from? What part of the world? What part of the country? You can get amazing insights from just your Facebook account. Or you can get to one of my favorite places, which is BuzzSumo. Again, I've probably mentioned this 3 or 4 times over the last few weeks. The free version is fine. I think you get about kind of 10 results as opposed to hundreds for free. But it's great. I still find it super useful. So I can type in coffee, I can type in coffee maker, and it'll show me the content relating to coffee that has been the most shared over the last little while. And you can this is, I think, on the left there, I'm seeing filter by date the past year. So that top one is for the word coffee. It's been the most shared piece of content for the past year, with 1.3 million Facebook shares, a few LinkedIn shares, but not many, and so on. It's really interesting. So I can put in coffee maker, coffee filter, coffee beans, whatever. I can put in coffeedetective.com. I can put in roastycoffee.com. I can put in coffeereviews.com. In other words, I can spy on my competitors and see what was the most shared content on their sites and think to myself, maybe I should create a page like that on my site. It is clearly a very, very shareable topic. So it's super useful. Session 5, making money. Just very quickly here. Now, I don't really have much to add here, other than the fact that it used to be that when you had Amazon as an affiliate, when you were an affiliate or an associate of Amazon, they had quite separate programs for UK, Canada, and US. So if like Coffee Detective is mostly, I think number one audience is US just because of the size, population size. Number two is Canada. Number three is UK in terms of my traffic. All my Amazon affiliate links were for US because of the size of the market, but it meant that I never made any money if someone from Canada or the UK decided to buy through my site. Now, I could have had three separate links. I could have signed up for the US, the Canadian, and the UK Amazon affiliate programs, associate programs. I could have put in three links, but that's really clumsy and annoying for my users to just, for me always to include three links rather than one. Fortunately, Amazon has overcome this problem with something they call one link. Again, if you have an older site, an existing site where you don't have one link, go to your associate's dashboard, find the one link thing, and this now means that it doesn't matter whether someone's in Canada, the US, or the UK, when they click on that link, that sale will be attributed to me, and I will make my pennies. So, for the future, if and when you decide to sell physical stuff from your website, Shopify on the left has had a huge, huge impact on small business online because basically you can build your store with Shopify. It's not just on the right there, WooCommerce. I think I've misspelled that. WooCommerce with two M's, not with one M. All right, so I'll change that after. If you can change it for yourself, WooCommerce with two M's in commerce. So that's kind of a shopping cart. It's a plug-in for WordPress, and it's not just a shopping cart. There's more. Check out WooCommerce. Super simple way to add a shopping cart to any WordPress site. Shopify is kind of goes one step beyond because it's not only a shopping cart but also a store. So you can create product pages, and again, you can integrate that with WordPress. So probably early days, but put that in your back pocket for later. Bits and pieces for you. Stuff for $5, kind of. Fiverr is where you go if you want something done for $5, but it's a bit like going to the dollar store, where in fact you go in there and not everything is $1. There's some stuff that's $2 or $3 or $4. Same with Fiverr. You can get stuff for $5, but very often it's like, hey, if you want this done quickly, it'll be $10. If you want the added value, it'll be $15. But regardless, it's a super inexpensive way to get stuff done. And if you go to Fiverr, you will find people who will do pretty much anything. Could be video, could be writing, could be illustration, could be photography, could be editing, like all kinds of stuff. So, for example, in the middle there, get this free report when you sign up for our newsletter. This is when I was doing the Coffee Detective newsletter. And I had an image of, a flat image of the front of that download. And I just wanted a 3D image like the one you see there. So it has a little spine and it has a little shadow reflection at the bottom. It looks like a real kind of booklet. And so I had that done at Fiverr. There's somebody who does 3D versions of book covers. And it cost me $5. And hey, I could probably get an add-on to Photoshop and do it myself, but for $5, it's the easiest thing for me is to get a Fiverr and get it. So whenever I need that done, I bookmark the guy on Fiverr, and next morning I get this image back, a 3D image of my book cover, so done. On the right there, I used to have a website called zerodecaf.com, and I discovered through Fiverr this interesting service where this lady would write your company name, or it had to be pretty short, but in chocolate powder on frothed milk on top of a cup of coffee. So as this was Zero Caf and it was to do with the coffee industry, I thought, well, that's perfect. And the website was called zerodecaf.com. So I paid her $5. And she did that for me. In fact, she did that for me with some different color backgrounds and some different types of cookies on the saucer. So again, if I'd gone back to my agency days of getting a photographer and finding someone, I'd actually probably get a model maker to make that. It's thousands of dollars to get a kind of custom shot like that done. And for me, it literally cost me $5. It may have cost me $10. I don't remember if I wanted it done quickly or overnight delivery. But a ton of stuff, go to Fiverr, see what you can get done. Now, the thing with Fiverr is you can also go there for a logo. Zillions of designers on Fiverr doing logo design. The only thing is these are, by nature, not the best in the world at what they do. Otherwise, they wouldn't be on Fiverr. So if you want a logo done on Fiverr, my recommendation is to find at least 5, go look at 20 different logo designers. They all have like a kind of samples page or a slider showing different samples of their work. Out of 20, find 5 where you think, you know what, this person has done some nice logos with the kind of look and feel that I'd be comfortable with. Then, instead of spending $5 on one of them, spend $5 on 5 of them. Because like I say, this is a $5 design. There's no guarantee of quality. But if you're going to, because I've done this before, I did this with a logo, and I put it out to tender for 5 different people at $5 each. Hey, it's a $25 investment. And there were a couple there that were very usable, and I chose one of them. So even logo design for the header for your website, you can get a Fiverr, and you can end up with a very nice logo. But like I say, I wouldn't depend on just one person unless you find someone who you just think, oh, that's perfect. Everything they do that's exactly how I'd like my logo to be. Then maybe you'll get lucky with one person. But just be prepared to spend $25 instead of $5. A bit more than $5, you can go to Etsy. It's amazing the stuff you find at Etsy. So again, still on zero decaf. Often I'm about visual assets. And I think I'm going to sneeze again. Hang on 1 second. Hang on. Wow, I wonder if I'm coming down with something here. Anyway, so yeah, zero decaf. I like what we call visual assets, visual elements that kind of add to the brand look and feel and the value of a site. So for zero decaf, I had that coffee thing. And here I discovered somebody on Etsy who would stamp, again, it has to be just a few letters, or a couple of words, onto an antique silver teaspoon. So this is not written on, it's not photoshopped on, it's actually stamped on. You can feel it stamped into the silver. So I've still got this in my desktop drawer here somewhere, nice and tarnished now. But yeah, I went to Etsy and I found that for $5. I've also been doing some work on chatbots, and so I went to Etsy recently looking for chatbots and robots and stuff like that. And there was one I was really tempted, but it was like hundreds and hundreds of dollars. This guy had done this really amazing, weird model of a kind of robot, and I felt really tempted. But it was like 6 inches high, and it was like $400 or something. But play around, have a look, see what you can find on Etsy. So organize your content ideas and resources. So that kind of bookmarking thing you can do in browsers, and you end up with 1,000 bookmarks, and you never look at them again. So there are other people out there who recognize that as a bit of a problem, so they create products like Instapaper on the left or Evernote, bottom right. I use both of them, Evernote and Instapaper. Evernote is the more sophisticated option, but for me, Instapaper is the simpler option. So I use both. If I have a task that I know is going to be complicated and I want folders and subfolders, etc., and maybe I want to share it with other people, I'll use Evernote. But for everyday kind of bookmarking into a folder, I'll use Instapaper. So that's my coffee, that's Instapaper. That page is my coffee folder. I have about 20 different folders for different topics. That's my coffee folder. So yeah, I just click on something that, hey, I want to save this to Instapaper. I choose the folder, and it's in there, and I can go back anytime later. I really like that because one of the most frustrating things is where you come across stuff and you think, hey, that's interesting. I bet I'll need that for such and such upcoming project. And then you forget it, and you think you're going to remember it, or you write it on a piece of paper or something. The other thing I'll do, actually, is sometimes I'll email myself with the URL of a page that I know that I'm going to want later, and then I drop that into a particular folder in my email program. But one way or another, capture stuff and organize stuff so that it's easily accessible later for when you need it. Finally, back up everything, your hard drive, everything. all that you do. So I use this, actually I use a lot of stuff because I'm paranoid. I use carbonite.com. It costs me like $12 a month. And what Carbonite does is, after I've got it set up, is it is constantly backing up my hard drive minute by minute, moment by moment. Every time I make a change, every time I create a document, edit a document, save or save as or whatever on my computer, within a minute, that change, that file, is backed up on Carbonite. So if at any point my laptop is stolen or I have a hard crash, then everything, I've lost nothing. Everything that I have is within my Carbonite account, which is why I'm very happy to spend $12 a month on it. This actually happened to me once. There are times when my computer's died, but I've been able to grab everything from the hard drive. One time my computer died and the hard drive was just, I don't know what happened, but nothing. I took it in, professionals looked at it, there was no way to recover anything from that hard drive, and I lost everything. And that's why I'm paranoid. So I use Carbonite. I also have a Dropbox account. I also actually back up a whole bunch of stuff to Google Drive, which you can use as a kind of backup. I also, being utterly paranoid, you see that little thing at the bottom there? I bought that from Amazon. I think it's like 2 terabytes. It's just like a little hard drive thing that sits behind my computer. Again, it's automated. Every time anything happens, so that thing is in part backup, but it's also like if I'm going somewhere, if I'm traveling, and I want access to my files but don't want to take my computer, I can just take that in a USB, and I can plug that into any computer anywhere and access all of my files. It's also a handy backup if you're utterly, totally, ridiculously paranoid about these things like what I am. So there you go. Don't do what I did and lose everything. It's just completely heartbreaking and incredibly stressful. So even if you're going to use something free like the first level of Google Drive or something like that, do something to back up your work. Right, so now for the bit we've all been waiting for, and that is next week's review, because this time in a week we're going to review your websites, or some of your websites. So there is a way to submit for review, and there is only one way to submit for review. If you send me information for review by email or social media, or you post it to Facebook, it won't work. It won't happen. You won't get on the list. So the only way to do this is you go through the submission link on the Week 7 tab of your members page, your dashboard page at awai.com. So you're going to include information in a Word doc, name of your website, Coffee Detective, and the URL link, coffeedetective.com, your full name and email address, a little bit about your website, like literally no more than a paragraph, otherwise I'll stop reading. And then use the drop-down on the form and select first or revised submission. So first, this can mean that you've built the website in the last 7 weeks, and this is the first time you submitted it. Or first could also be that you started doing this 6 months ago or a year ago in an earlier class, and you didn't meet the deadline, but now you want to submit it. So it may be from a year ago, but it's still your first submission. That's okay. That's first. Revised means if your site has been reviewed by me before and you want me to take a second look now that it is built out and improved, that is revised. And what will happen on the day is that I will start with all the first submissions. If I have time, I will then go on to revised submissions. If I don't have time, I won't. Something else that could possibly happen this time around, because we have a lot of participants, and this has happened one time before, is when I looked at the number of submissions, I got back to AWAI and said, guys, this is crazy. There's no way I can go through all of these in one session. And we actually devoted not 1 week, not one webinar, but 2. It could happen. We'll see. But anyway, and the deadline, no exceptions, I'm afraid. Sunday, March the 1st, so this coming Sunday, March the 1st, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Now, I know that it looks incredibly clear there, but I also know we're going to get some inquiries as to whether this is Eastern Time or Pacific Time or whatever it is. It is Sunday, March the 1st, 6 p.m. EST, Eastern Time. That's the deadline. Why is that the deadline? Because the review is on Tuesday, and I need the Monday to go through the websites and have a look and prepare my thoughts and comments. And what's going to happen when I do that is that the magic of this is not the individual sites, although some of them are going to be great. The magic of it is the combination, is the aggregate of them all. So that let's say you submit your site and it's the first one that I review, don't then go off and have a cup of coffee. Wait and look at the other websites, because you will learn as much or more from the other websites than you will from my review of your website. You'll look at what other people have done and think, oh my goodness, that is so cool. I could do that on my website. Or, oh gosh, no, I'm glad I haven't done that. Or I did do that, but now I see it on someone else's site. I kind of loved it on my site, but now I see it on someone else's. Not so cool. I think I'll take that off my site. So there's a huge opportunity to learn from not only what I say about your site, but about what you see other people have created as part of this process. So you're going to find these instructions repeated on Week 7 tab of your member page. Please, please, please follow these to the letter. There will be some people who don't, and they'll be very upset and disappointed when they don't get their website reviewed. But if you do follow these instructions to the letter, your website will be reviewed, even if I have to add an extra week to it, one way or another. So that is that. And that is that. We are just going to move on to any questions. And I, for one, am going to very much look forward to next week, because that's my favorite part, where I actually get to see all the stuff that you guys have created. All right, so Cameron, hey, so now this is like the last time in other sessions where I've talked about Q&A. I've said keep the questions relevant to the topic of this session. Of course, the topic of this session has been everything, so all and every questions relating to money-making websites are welcome.
Okay, great. Thank you, Nick.
Welcome.
Getting down to the wire here, guys. It's very exciting. Angela broke her wrist, but she's still in the game. She's wondering what's the minimum number of pages that's okay to launch the site.
I kind of touched on this a couple of times. I would say if you're going to have someone come to your site, if you're going to have a visitor come to your site, you don't want that visitor to be disappointed. So when I launched Coffee Detective, I don't remember exactly, but I imagine I had at least kind of 10 pages. So that if someone came there, they said, okay, yes, they got a page on coffees, on coffee makers, on how to make coffee. They've got the pages I would expect on a site like this for coffee. That said, let's say you've got 10 pages planned out. You're kind of ready to go on 10 pages for your website or 15 pages. And by Sunday, when you're going to submit, only 4 of those pages are ready. Go for it. Launch the site. Just don't promote the site. Don't link to the site. So I had a friend recently who was building a site, and she did the same. In fact, I think by the time she got to, let me see, I think it was like 4 static pages plus 4 blog posts. I guess it was 8. She built out her website. It was published. It was live, but there were no links to it. No one other than her and me knew it existed. So she, built it out slowly until she had, a home page, an about page, a privacy page, 4 blog posts, and then she announced it through, with her Facebook friends and stuff like that, saying, hey, I just launched a website. So here's what can happen: is if you only have like 3 or 4 pages, by all means you can share it with us. Share the website with us. Just don't promote it outside of our group until you have kind of closer to 10 pages or 15 pages. All right? So because like, hey, it's when you publish a website, it's like throwing a leaf in the forest, on the floor of the forest. You know, like nobody's going to know that leaf exists until you tell people about it. Until people link, you know, you have at least one link to it from Twitter or Facebook or something. No one's going to know. So if you publish a website with 3 or 4 pages, so long as you keep quiet about it, nobody's going to know. But you can share it with us. And then after the call, you know, learn from everyone else's websites and from what I might say, and then carry on. And once you're up to like 10, 12 pages, or you feel that, hey, you know what, if a visitor came to the site, they wouldn't feel that it was unfinished or not ready. So at that point, then you can share it with the world.
Okay, great. Thank you. So Ricky switched over from WordPress.com to WordPress.org. She's wondering what's going to happen when she turns off the old website at WordPress.com. Will it affect her Google ranking, and how long will it take them to find the new site?
I'm not sure at the first half of the question. I'm not sure how Google will. Interesting idea. I'm not sure how Google will deal with that.
Okay.
In terms of how fast will they find it, if you put up a Facebook page or a tweet or something direct to the new domain, then it will very, very quickly, because you know Google is looking at Facebook and Twitter every minute of every day. They'll find a new link. They'll find a new site. You could probably put in a Q&A, you know, put in a customer support question to WordPress.com and ask if you can have that, your page there, as a permanent, you're writing this down? Write this down. Permanent redirect. So that if anyone goes to the .com website, that will direct them. They'll be automatically directed to your new website. When Google sees a permanent redirect, it says, okay, fair enough. So yeah, ask them, see if you can find out some kind of question. Put the question to the folks at WordPress.com is, can I create a permanent redirect to my new website from my .com, my old WordPress.com website?
Okay, great. And do you recommend adding a long tail keyword to the new homepage's URL, or just leave the name of the domain on the homepage?
Homepage, it has to be just a domain name. It's the only time that, like coffeedetective.com is the homepage, awai.com is the homepage, cnn.com is the homepage, foxnews.com is the homepage. It's the homepage is always, it's by definition just the core domain. The only time you will see that being different is where you'll often see after .com there'll be a question mark, and then there'll be some more text, and somebody's either testing different versions of a homepage, or someone has put in some tracking code to tell them that you came to that homepage from such and such an advertisement or whatever. But no, absolutely, your homepage is your domain by definition.
Okay, cool. Now Scott says Uber Suggest has changed in ways not mentioned in the letter we got. The action he's able to take seems even more limited, but he's thinking maybe that's what he gets because the site he's working on is about 800 pages, and they feel maybe he should be paying. He's still waiting for the BIQ beta to open.
Okay, yeah, I haven't, like I said, I've been away for about 10 days now, and I know some stuff's been happening at Uber Suggest, and I haven't caught up with it.
Okay.
But I will. But also, if you're trying to use a free tool like that on an 800-page website, then yes, I can see how you might bump into a suggestion that you take out your wallet.
Right.
Because for most of us using Uber Suggest, it's hey, if you're at the early stages, you're just playing around with keywords, doing some keyword search for your new money-making website, and your new website's going to be 10 pages in size. So that'll be a reasonable demand on a tool at the free level. But with 800 pages, that's a whole different animal.
Okay, yeah, and Scott mentioned that he runs a few websites, maybe more than a handful. So he also said that when doing anything with a Google service, do not use Firefox because some Google services are simply denied by that browser, like ads and maps.
Right.
So it's just a tip.
There's all kinds of weird stuff happening between the browsers and the different search engines. You kind of almost need to choose your ecosystem. You're either going to be with Apple. If you like my ecosystem is pretty much Google. So I use Google Chrome. I use Android on my phone. I use Google Drive, like the whole thing. So try to when you kind of decide who you're going to be or what you're going to be. Like on my every time I get a laptop, I know that there's a Microsoft operating system and they want me to use Bing, and there's you have to dodge the bullet 50 times to not install Bing and stuff all over your computer. Choose your side and then kind of live within that ecosystem.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So let's see. Sorry. Next question. Ricky's asking, if I put the image of my book covers with a link to Amazon to buy on her money-making website, will that outgoing link add to her SEO ranking even if people don't click from Amazon to her site? Since her site's going to Amazon.
Outbound links can add value, but that particular example, probably not, because you're just going to a shopping page on Amazon. If I was, if I had an outbound link from Coffee Detective to Starbucks, Google in its subtle way may think, hey, that's cool. The guy's referencing other sources. The guy's pointing out other valuable sources of information. So that they, and I don't think even that is a big deal. I think it's a little deal. I think it's a little thing. I think if Google sees that you're being a good player, a nice person, and that you are kind of linking to valuable. Now, if your outbound links are to pornography sites in Russia, then not so good. So I think it's the same with inbound links. It's the kind of quality and relevance of the link, inbound and outbound, that earns you brownie points.
Okay, great. So the next question I have here is UseLoom recording you on your computer, like giving a webinar? Is it your face, or is it the PowerPoint on your screen?
With UseLoom, it's basically recording what's on your screen. If I'm recording a whole PowerPoint presentation, or if I want to do a longer recording of my screen capture, I'll use a service called Camtasia. Camtasia, CAMTASIA. I can do. UseLoom is super simple for just a short 5-minute video. It's like, hey Jack, here's how I did it, and you're just showing them how you click through on a page. Or I use it for some of my classes on kind of reviewing a piece of copy. I'll do a copy critique, so I can move my cursor around and say, highlight the headline or whatever, or a second paragraph or whatever. So it'll just be like a 5-minute recording. If I am recording something longer, if it's part of a course, then I'll use Camtasia. With UseLoom, basically you record it to the cloud, to the Loom cloud, and you can share that link, or you can download it from UseLoom onto your hard drive, and then you can share that file.
Nick, are you there?
I am here.
Okay. All right, good. So we got a lot of questions coming in. So David's asking, he says, I'm sure everyone who uses Uber Suggest gets on Neil Patel's email list. He advocates using online tools both for traffic and backlinks. What can you tell us about that?
I'm not familiar with everything that he recommends. I'm not. If I was on his list, I think I get so much email. It's crazy. I will say that he's one of the good guys, so that there are a zillion people out there offering advice on do this and do that. And if you follow too many people's advice, you'll find it contradicts, and it's just totally and utterly confusing. So if you want to stick with me on advice on money-making websites, then stick with Neil Patel on everything pertaining to SEO, etc. That would be good. He's a good guy. I'd happily recommend Neil Patel as your source for SEO and stuff like that.
Okay, great. Let's see. And so would you go out and publish the site even if we couldn't get your review first because it wasn't ready before the deadline?
Well, like I say, you need to publish it because you can't just send in a picture of your site. You're going to send in the URL like coffeedetective.com. And I'm going to open up your website in my browser. If it's not published, I'm not going to see it. I'm not going to review it. So you have to publish if you want it reviewed. But like I say, if you publish it, and other than me, you don't tell anyone, you don't create a link to that site, and you don't submit it to Google or anything like that, you just publish it, then no one knows it exists. Like I said, it's like dropping a piece of sand on a beach. It's just one of a billion pages. So don't worry about it. So what you do is you publish it for the review, even if it's just a few pages, and then you keep building more and more pages. And then once you're ready, once you say at 10, 15 pages, and you think, you know what, as a website, if someone came, I think this feels like it covers, the main points. At that point, then you go out to your Facebook and you follow that whole instructions that we gave in that session about, what to do in the first 30 days kind of thing. So yeah, publish it, but just don't announce it. But yes, you do have to publish it if you want it reviewed.
Right. Very good. And then if you don't publish it and the review session passes, go ahead and publish it after that. You can still get feedback
Absolutely.
from people in the Facebook group. You can get a review next time Nick does the money-making website reviews. So that might be 6 months, but you'll get a review if you submit it. So publish. Yeah, do it. Deborah's asking if she can use PowerPoint for creating backgrounds, image files, and then send them to WordPress, or is PowerPoint considered a dinosaur for that?
Say that again?
She wants to use PowerPoint for creating backgrounds or image files. Is that something, is that outdated, or is it something that's okay to do?
I'm not entirely sure I know what she means, but let's say I created some image, some graphic in PowerPoint, which I've done. What I would then do is I'd go to Jing. I would copy that image with Jing. I would save that image as a JPEG, because you can't upload a PowerPoint file as an image. It just doesn't work. But if I capture what I've created on that PowerPoint slide, say it's a graphic, say it's a logo, maybe you created a logo within PowerPoint. It's something I've done myself in the past. And then I'm going to capture that with Jing, save it as a JPEG, and then that JPEG I can now upload to my WordPress site.
Okay. All right, great.
Now, if I actually created a PowerPoint presentation that I wanted people to access through my website, then what I would do is I would create the PowerPoint, then I would save it as a PDF, and then I would upload the PDF as a media file to my media folder in WordPress and publish that.
Okay.
All right, because now I can't have a PowerPoint, upload a PowerPoint to WordPress, but I can upload a PDF, and you can save a PowerPoint file as a PDF file.
Right. Okay, great. And Harry is wondering, I know we talked about this in a previous session, but can you quickly touch on again why we should switch from WordPress.com to WordPress.org? I think Carrie missed that.
All right. WordPress.com is hosted by WordPress, and it's the kind of easy button way to publish a website. But what it doesn't do is it doesn't give you access to the thousands of plugins, third-party plugins that are available through the WordPress.org version. So if I want to add WooCommerce, I want to add Yoast SEO, I want to add, there are a zillion plugins. That's what you need .org for. It just gives you so much more power, so much more flexibility. Much, much better choice.
Okay, great. Thank you. And let's see. Next question, why does Yoast mention site title? What do they mean? Are they asking for the domain name or the page heading? Do you know what they mean by that, site title?
I do, and so do you, if you've been following along. The title is the title tag. So when you're creating a page, you're going to have the on-page headline and text that you write. But you're also going to do your meta tags, and one of those is the title tag. And the title tag is not the same as the headline. It can be the same words, but you probably should vary it a bit. If you open your browser and you open up a few different tabs, different websites, and you hover your mouse over the tab, a piece of text will jump up, like Coffee Detective, your resource for all things coffee, or whatever it is. Whatever jumps up, that's the title tag. That's the title. All right. I was showing today the use of Word Tracker Scout, and when you go to that second tab, and it throws up the title tag, the description, and the H1. The H1 is the headline. So every page should have an on-page headline, but every page you should do the meta tags for SEO purposes, and the principal ones there are the title tag, the title, and the description tag, the description for that page. And then this is all covered in, I can't remember, it was session 3, I believe.
Okay, great. Let's see. People are asking if you have to pay for the course again to get reviewed in a future session. Absolutely not, guys. Once you're part of this program, you are part of it forever, and you can participate live as many times as you wish. You can even submit for a second review. If you've gotten a review before and you've improved upon the site, you can ask for another review, and those are put second, to the ones that have never gotten a review before, but you can do it. And Nick will send you comments if he is unable to get it in live. So,
Jeez,
don't
Cameron,
worry.
I was going to tell them all they had to pay again and again and again. Then you have to jump in with this free for life thing.
Well, now you guys got it free for life because I said it.
Jeez.
So
Jeez. It's true. It's true. It's true.
It's called Evergreen. AWAI does that with a lot of their programs.
And also, you might want to, in a year and 18 months, might think, hey, I wonder if Nick's added or removed anything from his week 6 kind of resources slides, the ones we did today. Because like I said, this is today's slide deck is the one that changes the most. So again, you can just go back to the most recent version of that anytime you like.
Okay, great. And so go back up to the top of questions here, guys. Sorry, there's a lot. Scott says, be careful of copy pasting. Google analyzes for copied content. I think we've talked about that before. Never go over 50%. Collect from multiple places and put it in your own words.
Yeah, don't. This is covered. I can't remember in which session, but it's about quality content. It's about never duplicating, never copying content. You never cut and paste from Wikipedia. Right. Like he says, you can draw information from 5 different sources, which I'll copy and paste from 5 different sources into a Word file, on the page. Then I'll organize the information, that information that I've cut and paste, and then I will open up another Word document, and I will completely rewrite it, just simply referencing the material that I've copied and pasted. So I copy and paste for research purposes and sort of aggregating the information, but then I completely rewrite that from top to bottom. I never cut and paste from another source into my website.
Right. And Karen is asking, how do you add a forum to your website?
Forum, old school. Well, first of all, if you want to do that, you should definitely use WordPress and WordPress.org. And then you're going to do a search for forum plugins. And yeah, you'll find some. And again, as with all plugins, look for the ones that have a zillion reviews and that it's like, a 4 or 5 or 4 or 4.5 out of 5. It'll never be 100% positive. And look, as well as for the highly reviewed and highly used plugins, look for ones, it also gives you a date of when it was last updated. And if the last update was in 2014, move on. Because all those plugins need to be updated frequently. This is a very kind of moving space. So everything you're creating, whether it's a theme, whether it's a plugin, you have to keep updating it. So yeah, go to, I used to use a forum plugin, I can't remember its name, but just do a search. Go into your WordPress dashboard, go down and scroll down to the left, plugins, open up the plugins tab, and then go to the search field and type in forums, and you'll get a whole bunch of choices. And like I say, you want to go for like a 4.5 star forum with zillions of users that's been updated within the last 6 months.
Okay, great. Thank you. And Barbara's asking if you use Scrivener. I think I've heard of that before.
Scrivener?
Yeah.
I don't. My wife does. I don't.
I think a lot of people use that.
But I would if I were going to write a book again. Just looking over my wife's shoulder, I would think definitely I would. If I were writing long form like that, where I want to organize stuff into chapters and stuff, a lot of the stuff that Word doesn't do very well, then I would use Scrivener for long form if I were writing a kind of half decent length ebook or certainly a full length book. I'd be very tempted to check out Scrivener. But for everyday use, for blog posts and for articles for Coffee Detective, for me, something like Microsoft Word is fine. Okay,
great. Cindy's wondering if she can rework her personal Facebook account and then make it so that it sends people to her monetized website, like an info link to her website.
Kind of depends. It depends on the, like I have a personal Facebook page, which is kind of friends and family. And then I have a Coffee Detective page, which is a separate page. It's a separate Facebook page. And I do that for a couple of reasons. One is that coffee is not the only thing I want to talk about with family. So I don't want all my coffee stuff in my regular personal profile Facebook page. Also, if I want access to those insights that I talked about, the kind of, the insights that Facebook provides, they don't do that for personal pages. They only do that for business pages or website pages. So I have a separate Coffee Detective page. It allows me, like I say, it means I can separate out my coffee conversations from my personal life conversations. It means I can access insights through Facebook. It means that I can pay to boost, to promote particular things that I post on the Coffee Detective page. So I would favor them separately, doing it separately, unless your personal life obsession is the same as your website obsession. If they're totally the same thing. That said, I have in the past, I'm sure, within my personal Facebook page said, hey, I've just completely redesigned my coffee. Most people there know I have a coffee site. So, I don't bombard them with coffee stuff because that's not what my personal Facebook page is about. But certainly, probably once a year, I've said, oh, hey, major upgrade, something new, blah, blah, blah. And I've used that to kind of link to the coffee site.
Okay, great. Cheryl is thinking of inviting some of her website visitors to send in their favorite wedding photos to be featured throughout the site. This would also provide her some free images. Is there some sort of release or disclaimer that she should include?
Yeah, she probably should. So first of all, hopefully she'll have like an email history of saying, hey, can I use this? But again, if you do a search on, I've not done it, so I don't know the exact answer, but if you do a Google search for photo release form or photo release form examples, you will definitely find examples of more formal photo release documents. So you may well want to take that route just to be sure, just to be safe, particularly with something as personal as wedding photos. So that, it's not just about protecting yourself, it's also actually about protecting your friends and readers. So that if you ask them, can I use it, that's one thing. If you say, I'd love to use your wedding photograph, can you please just sign this release form, that makes that person pause and think that, well, hang on, do I really want this? It's kind of good in that sense, in that it helps people make the decision that, yes, I'm actually cool with you publishing my wedding photo. So that's a pretty good habit to get into. It just protects everyone.
Right. Okay. Karen is asking, how do you optimize for the author's name? Is there a separate page, or is it done at the beginning of the article provided by the author for you to duplicate?
For me to duplicate? Well, so if you, in WordPress, you can say who the author is of a post. Usually, by default, it's you, the owner. It'll come from your profile information and your your own WordPress account, as it were. But if you're going to have guest posts, you can add them as users of your site, and with a little drop down when you're creating their post, you can click on their name, saying they're the author of this post. So I don't know about other platforms. It's not automated like that. Certainly within Seller Build It, but with WordPress, yes, you can have a list of different authors of content on the site, and then you can mark each of their posts with their name.
Okay. All right. Great. And Christine found out while building the website that in Bluehost, the site is not live until I click on a box in File Manager. So I can make it live, and then I can turn it back off until I'm ready.
I wouldn't do that.
No.
Because let's say you make it live, and let's say, hey, somebody in the group links to it out of the kindness of their hearts, and Google follows the link and finds the website, and then you go back and you turn it off, so it's not live. Google comes back, and your site's no longer there, and Google thinks, well, that's not cool. So no, I wouldn't do that. Once it's on, leave it on.
Okay. All right. Is there a plugin that you recommend for language translation?
No, I don't know. It's a good idea, but no, I don't know. I don't know of one. But again, just go into plugins in your WordPress dashboard and type into the search field, translation, and maybe you'll find something there.
Okay, great. So if we want to sell ebooks through our money-making website, what page would the ebook sit for people to download it if they want to buy it on our WordPress.org site?
Say that again?
I think think Ricky's asking, where would you put the ebook download if people have to pay for it? I think you would put it on probably a password-protected site or a site or a page that only gets linked to through the email you send them or something like that.
Yeah. So you need some kind of payment pathway, like some kind of shopping cart. For the one that they'll charge something. The best deal I've come across recently is called ejunkie.com. Set up an account there, and then I haven't used them, but there are generally two ways of doing this. Like Cameron says, basically you're going to complete the purchase. Then either you will be taken directly to a page where the ebook sits as a PDF, or you will receive, like Cameron said, a confirmation email saying, thank you for the purchase, here's the link to your ebook. Now, where is the ebook? I don't know how eJunkie does it or whether they provide the option, but some services like that saying, upload the ebook to our servers, and we will deliver it, or make it available to your buyers once the purchase is confirmed. Or what is just as common and usually easier is you upload the ebook as a PDF to your own WordPress site or to your Stellar Build It site. Just upload it as a file into the media file area. And that file, once you've uploaded it into your media folder within WordPress, will have a URL. And it's the URL of that file that you then share with people once you've confirmed that they've completed the purchase.
Okay. All right, great. Let's see. Cindy says her security is still pending for her website. Do you know how long it takes the process to complete? And someone else asked, how do we get the S, the security, for HTTPS?
Sorry, give me Cindy's question first.
Her security is still pending for her website. How long does it take for that process to complete? She went through the phone call verification. They said something about sending something in the mail to her physical address.
Wow, no idea what that might be. Can she give us some more details about where? Yeah, I don't understand that.
Yeah, maybe that's with Google. I know that Google verifies your business by sending you something to your address. I've had that experience with someone else's website that I built for them.
But
yeah.
What, to just publish the website?
Cindy, are you talking about with Google, or are you talking about just publishing? And that made me remember an earlier question, which is how do we get the S on HTTPS? What process do we need to go through to get that?
Well, like I said, if it's a brand new website, it should just be there. It's the default now. So if it's a brand new website, when you create your website and you host it through Bluehost or you host it through Stellar Build It, it'll be HTTPS.
Oh, it just automatically adds that. There's nothing we have to do.
That's the default now. If you have an older website that you're rebuilding or updating and it still has the old HTTP, then you ring up or do a customer chat with Bluehost or whatever and say, hey, I need to upgrade from HTTP to HTTPS, and they will either do it for you or they will tell you how to do it.
Okay, got it. And if we're adding posts to our site, is it valuable to put our name after each one for SEO ranking, or no?
Not really. Google used to have this thing, I've even forgotten what it's called, about the kind of author thing that Google used to have, but they don't anymore. Yeah. So, like I say, in WordPress, your name will be stuck at the top, will be put at the top anyway, automatically, unless you choose not to have it. So no, I don't think you. Now, if you want to put like a little bio at the end, then sure, and some sites do that. But if you are, like with Coffee Detective, everything on the site is written by me. so I don't need to put my photo and bio at the bottom of every page that I write. If you are creating a website where there may be 3 or 4 different authors, then sure, you can have like a little kind of byline at the bottom and even an image.
Okay, great. Let's see. Ricky signed up for Upsplash.com for free stock photos to add to her money-making website. It suggests to add the name of the photographer as a courtesy to them, but do we need to? And if we did, how do we do that if we're only using them as stock to make text look better? Maybe a small caption under the photo, just says photo by and gives credit.
Right. I think generally in that situation you're not required to.
Right.
Again, I'm not looking at the specific instructions, so I'm not absolutely sure. But if they're giving you the option, it means you can or you can't. So really, it's up to you. Obviously it's a courtesy. If you're not paying for the photograph, it's a courtesy to the photographer that you mention their name, and that name is usually immediately below the image, photo by Jack Jones, and you can do it in a gray rather than a black if you want, and you don't have to do it at all. So it's very much like they say, from what I understand. It's your choice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right.
Hang on. What was the last sentence of that question? The last few words about when it's just something the text. It was like.
I cleared the question, so I'll have to find it in the list.
Oh, sorry. All right. So I think it was something about an image when it's just there as a kind of illustration for the text.
Yeah, basically, I think she was saying, she's just using it to illustrate what she's talking about in the text.
Right. So that kind of just thing. I mean, I get it, but be careful. Images. When an image is simply decorative or just simply there to break up the text, you should ask yourself, hang on, can this image play a more positive role? Can it add more value to the page? I guess there's a role for purely decorative images, but usually an image can do more. Like if I have a recipe page, the image is decorative, sure, but it also is going to show either the finished meal or it's going to show the ingredients. It serves a purpose beyond just looking pretty. So if I were adding an image to a page where I think, oh, well, yes, but it's just. I'm not saying I wouldn't add an image just because it's pretty or just because it breaks up the text. But I would pause and ask myself of like, hey, is there a more valuable use I can put an image to at this point? What is it in the text that needs the support or would be added? How would an image really add extra value to this part of the text? I'd want it to play. I want images to play a real role to contribute to every page rather than simply be decorative or break up the blocks of text.
Okay, great. And then another question about images. What file size should our own photo be to upload to our website if we don't want to use stock? Is there a standard?
I think I kind of covered this, didn't I?
Yeah, I think so. The file size.
Yeah, you want to get down to you don't want to upload those huge 4 megabyte images. You want small images, small file sizes, or rather the appropriate size image. I can upload an image to WordPress that's 6,000 pixels wide, and then through kind of dragging the corners, I can make it fit in my 750 pixel width. But it's a huge, massive file, which is going to slow down the page load dramatically, and you don't want that.
Right. Okay. So does Carbonite work with more than one device per person?
I think it depends. I can't remember the account. I think I have a pretty basic account, and I think it covers 3 different devices, or at least 2. Because I remember once I went in there to add a new, I'd got a new laptop, and it said, hang on, if you want to add this, you're going to have to dump something else. So I dumped the old laptop.
Okay. Cool. So David's site is Sustainability Scout. He has a blog, Sustaining Our World. Can he put the blog on the web page? Should he? If so, they don't look similar, logo, color scheme, etc. How much does that matter?
He's got a website and a blog.
Yeah,
separate
right.
Domain names on the web.
I believe so.
How did you ever get to do that? Yes, they should be the same place under the same domain. Yes, the blog should be part of the site. So yeah, you've got to. I would bite the bullet here and say yes. I'm gonna. You got to choose which domain is the best domain, which domain is getting the most traffic. Then let's say you're gonna stick with the website domain. Then you are going to. Is this a WordPress blog? I don't know. It's complicated. You're probably going to have to get a little help with this. But yeah, I would bring the blog site into the website using the website domain. I would then do that redirect thing we talked about. I would permanently redirect, again, talk to hosting, talk to Seller Build It or to Bluehost or whoever, and say I would like a permanent redirect of this domain, the old domain, like the blog domain, to the web domain, so that even if people go to the old blog, they'll now automatically be redirected to the website, where they will find both the website and the blog. But yes, I have no idea how you did that, but definitely it would be to your advantage to have both things under the same domain.
Okay, great. And Brenda's curious about the copywriter notation in the footer of her website. Does she use the website name, or does it need to be a legal entity, like a business name or her personal name? Do you have any thoughts or suggestions?
Well, just like the copyright line.
Yeah.
If it's the copyright line, it can be whatever. If you have I think I just have copyright coffeedetective.com. It's basically just saying it's copyrighted. And in fact, anything you write, the words you write, a blog post, an article, a homepage, is automatically copyrighted whether you put that notation in or not. Your own writing is copyrighted by default as soon as you finish publishing it.
Right. Okay. Well, so David has another question about his sustainabilityscout.com website and the blog. He can make an email address at sustainabilityscout.com. He's wondering if he should, or if he should use the one he already uses for his sustainability blog. They'll both redirect to the same Gmail account. He's just wondering if he should have different accounts for people to write into.
Making my head spin.
No.
You want to bring everything into one domain and use that one domain as your one email address. So if I had Coffee Detective and Coffee Detective Scout was my blog, I'd bring my blog into Coffee Detective, and I'd have my email as nick@coffeedetective.com. Just everything simple, all under one roof, one domain. I'd redirect any traffic to coffeedetectivescout.com to coffeedetective.com. I would redirect all emails to nick@coffeedetectivescout.com to nick@coffeedetective.com.
Okay. And Linda's asking, if we submit our website after the review, will someone other than Nick review it? I think Nick's the only one doing website reviews.
Yep, nobody will review.
No.
Nobody will. After that, there's no. After I finish the reviews, that's it for the next 6 months. I can't review. If you email me, actually, it's a good question. If you email me very politely after the review, say, Nick, I missed it by a day, or my dog was sick, or whatever, can you please look at my website and review it? I will sadly say no, not because I'm mean, but because there will also be 10 other people asking me the same thing, or 20 other people asking me the same thing, saying, Nick, for whatever reason, I missed the deadline. Could you do me the favor of just recording a quick review? And I honestly, truly have to say no, because you're not the only one. And if I say yes to you, then why don't I say yes to everyone? So this really is a do or die. If you don't get it in by the deadline, if you get it in by the deadline, by hook or by crook, even if I have to put in an extra week on it, I will get it reviewed. If you don't meet the deadline, then you're going to have to wait 6 months. Sorry to be rough like that, but
all right.
Experience tells me that's the way it needs to be.
That's why we have a deadline. But if you miss it again, go to the Facebook page, get some feedback from your peers here on the group, because people stay active there. And then submit it for review from Nick next time we have the Money Making Website course again live. So Derek's wondering what happened to some of the bonus materials on the website. He's thinking there used to be a lot more. Were they outdated, or did they just disappear?
I have no idea.
Okay. Well, Derek, let us know. Write into member services and let them know which ones you're missing, and if they are still useful, or I'm sure they'll be happy to add them back.
Actually, there is you're jogging a small memory, but this is not like in the last few months. I'm thinking almost at least a year ago there was a discussion, and I believe it was money. It might not even have been money making websites. I knew one of my programs there was a discussion about is some of this stuff outdated, and some of it was. And for one of the programs, and this is 1 or 2 years ago, we did pull some stuff because it was no longer relevant or up to date. Honestly, I don't remember whether it was Money Making Websites course or not. But yeah, if you call member services, maybe they can enlighten you further on that. Yeah. And if it's gone, it's because there was a reason. It's like I was saying, like today's presentation with the resources are constantly changing every time. And we don't want materials out there with a bunch of outdated information, because it's not only unhelpful, it can be actually sort of detrimental to point you in the wrong direction. So when we pull something from a bonus list, it would be for a good reason.
Okay, great. And then Cindy wrote in with a little side note here about Facebook. She says if someone's selling something via their money-making website, they should create a separate Facebook page, because it's against Facebook rules to sell anything from your personal account. And if you get reported doing it, you can lose your account. So, right.
So that's another reason why not to use your personal account. You've got to create a website account or a business account. And as long as you do that, then Facebook's all over selling stuff. They love it. If they know you're going to buy ads and boost your posts, et cetera, et cetera.
Right. So let's get back to the bottom of the questions here. There's so many. Okay, so okay, so Barbara saw something on your coffee website. Quote, exclusive member of Mediavine Food, end quote.
Yes.
She's asking what that means.
So when I started out with Coffee Detective, my advertising was through Google AdSense. They would place ads on my website, and I'd monetize the attention on my site through Google AdSense. Mediavine is an alternative competing ad network. Now, you have to have, I believe it's at least 25,000 visitors a month before they will accept you. They tend to focus quite a bit in the kind of food, beverage area, but not exclusively. And so I applied about a year ago to Mediavine, and then jumped through a whole bunch of hoops and had to make a whole bunch of kind of changes to the site so that it would work for Mediavine, but all to good for good reason, because my income from Mediavine is about 3 times what it was from Google AdSense. But yes, one of the things so all the advertising, not the affiliate links, but all the advertising you see on Coffee Detective comes through Mediavine. They place all of those ads, and they put that little line in at the bottom about whatever it was you just read. So that's just saying that they're the advertising network I use to deliver ads on Coffee Detective.
Okay, great. If you want to add original songs to the website, are those songs automatically copywritten as well?
Songs?
Yeah.
No idea.
And music as a whole, music has its own whole weird thing about copyright.
No idea.
All right. And do you know what the header size is for Generate Press? What size the header needs to be?
The header size doesn't need to be. If you go to Generate Press, there are a variety of options. There are all kinds of different the different ways that the look and feel and design, the kind of template for the look and feel of your page. There are different sizes of the header area, different depths from top to bottom on the header area. So there's nothing about needing to be a particular size. You choose your own size. That said, and I'm glad the question came up, because something that's going to happen next week when I'm going to review is I'm going to say to some people, your header area, the header part of your website is very deep. It's like a long way from the top of the page down the screen is taken up by that header, which is not a very good thing, because it means that every time I go from page to page, the first half of the screen on my computer, it looks exactly the same because it's being taken up by the header. And if I'm on my phone and I click from page to page through the menu, then every page looks exactly the same because the entire first screen is taken up with the header.
Mm.
So you want to make the header shallow rather than deep. In other words, it should just take up that little bit at the top of the screen. Think of it as a 1-inch header as opposed to a 5-inch header from top to bottom. So
okay.
I know that's not specifically answering the question, but it just prompted me because it comes up every time is that people create these deep header spaces that take up at least half of the screen. And it's really frustrating for a user because it's really hard to see when you've moved from one page to another because all you see is the header on every page.
Okay, great. So Melanie's website, winetastingadventures.com, is a collection of wineries and tour operators. She's contacting providers for photos and logos for free listings. But in the meantime, can she use their website logos for placeholders, or should she wait until she gets permission?
Interesting. It's one of those things where technically you should probably wait permission. But honestly, are they going to object? So long as you're providing a listing that's not going to harm them in any way. If you're writing a horrible review and you use their logo, they'll probably jump all over you. But if you use their review in a way that is positive, that is helpful to them, I can't see them objecting. So again, I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a legal expert in copyright on images, logos, and stuff. But again, I'd be surprised if any of them objected if you're doing them the service of listing their winery.
Right. Okay. And Rita's got a tricky question here. Can you provide a benchmark on how many months or years it takes to start earning ad revenue from a new site so she'll know if she should move on to another niche? It's a hard one because it's not necessarily based on time. There's so many factors that go into, those months or years that could make a difference.
Right. So it depends on all kinds of things, and it depends on revenue depends on traffic, and traffic depends on how many people are going to love your website, and how many people are going to hear about your website and visit your website and come back to your website. So it's all a numbers game, and the first number that counts is traffic. Once you have the traffic, then you can expose the ads, and as people see and click more and more ads, you can make more and more money. How long does it take for you to get a ton of traffic? It depends on so many things. It depends on how thoroughly you've done your keyword research, how well you're going to do in the search engines, how shareable your content is going to be through social media. I'm trying to think back to, and unfortunately I don't have a record of it, and I didn't think to keep a record of it because when I first started Coffee Detective, I never imagined at that point that I'd be creating a course like this. I was just creating a website, so I didn't record all of this. In hindsight, I would have done, or should have done. My guess is that it was probably a good 6 months in before I was making it any kind of revenue where I thought, like where I noticed, like if you get a check for $10 for the month, it's your first check for $10 is kind of fun because it's the first time your website made you any money. But for most of us, $10 is not going to make a big difference to our budget for the month. You get to $100, and all of a sudden it's like, you know what, that's something. And again, it depends on your family, it depends on your circumstances. For some families, an extra $100 a month is definitely something. For other families or individuals, $500 a month is where it becomes something. So I would, I would definitely give myself 6 months of effort on something like this, unless I saw obvious signs that it just was not going anywhere or I was losing interest. But if I saw just sparks of interest, and if I saw a steady increase in traffic, even if it was at a fairly low level, if I saw that stuff was happening, that things were moving in the right direction, I'd give it a good 6 months to see if I could start hitting that. Hey, even if after 6 months it was $50, but I saw things moving in the right direction, then I think, okay, this is like putting money into a 401k. I'm just putting my time in instead. I'm just drip feeding this thing, and it will compound the same way a good investment does. The more pages I do, the more social sharing I get, the more comments I get, the more views on my YouTube channel. I can see that it is beginning to grow and compound. So I would, with any copywriting, money-making website, I would, like the first month or two is just pure grind. You're just putting out the content, trying to get people to come and visit. By the time I get to 6 months, I would expect to be seeing some positive movement forward. That stuff is happening, that my audience size is growing, that I'm getting some engagement, and that people are spending a little time on the site when they get there. And so long as I see that growth and that I'm moving in the right direction, I'm probably not going to stress about the absolute number on revenue. Because if month 1 is $10 and month 2 is $20 and month 3 is $30, then you know what? I don't have to wait that long until this starts getting really, really interesting. Think about it. From 10 to 20 to 30 to 40. Like, if it's small numbers, but if those small numbers are consistently moving upwards in the right direction, then yeah, just do the math ahead. Do the math ahead 12 months and see where you're going. And all of a sudden you think, right, I'll keep at this.
Okay, great. And then Debbie's asking, in regards to Generate Press, can Jim Wright show us how to do small things on our WordPress site with Generate Press, or should we contact tech support, Tom?
Jim has done an introduction, yeah, and I think that's part of the bonus page. One of the bonuses on the page is Jim's introduction to setting up a WordPress site, and I believe he uses Generate Press. I don't know what is Jim paid to be a resource? I have no idea.
I'm not sure how that works. Is he on the Facebook page? Does he participate with you guys on there? I know he's really busy.
Yeah, I have no idea.
But he's also really good at this stuff.
Hey, if you have a particular question, then by all means, I know that Generate Press has a very good customer support team. So I know they'll help you. Jim is great. I'm just not sure of his availability or what the deal is. I don't know what arrangement AWAI has with Jim when it comes to this kind of stuff. Right.
Me neither. So you could ask Member Services. You could ask on Facebook, and you could also just ask Generate Press tech team your question. They should be able to help you out. Kelly has a non-related question. She's asking if you have any connection to, quote, Usborne Books and More. Her daughter became a consultant about the same time she started this course.
Oh, funny. Usborne Books are run by, yes, we're related.
Funny.
But they're kind of second cousins or something.
Oh, that's funny.
I don't know them personally. So same family, but kind of different branches of the same family.
Yeah. That's awesome. Okay, so Marsha's asking, is there some place we can get tutorials or a course on Astra plugins and Elementor Page Builder? I don't know. I've never heard of those things.
Well, no, and I think this came up as on the Facebook page. Elementor, I have Elementor on one of my sites that was used by someone who was helping me to build, and I wish they hadn't. I don't like Elementor at all. I don't see the need for it. Astra is a plugin, but I'm not familiar with it, so I don't know the answers to the question. But I would ask the question: why do you think you need Elementor? Because it's just a kind of complicated way of doing what WordPress will do for you anyway. At least that's my take on it.
Gotcha. Okay, great. Karen tried to put a logo as the header. She could not find a way to do it. When she entered it as an image into the header area, the theme just stretched it across the area, and it looked terrible. How can I get it to just contain a logo?
I don't know.
Yeah, that's a tech issue. I think it has to do with sizing, Karen. So your header area is a certain size, and it's going to stretch the image to fill it.
Don't do that though. But I think, like I said, I'm not a technical person, so there are various things I do. But then, in terms of setup, I usually get someone like Jim to do that for me, and I make no pretense of being a technical expert. But I think, you're probably trying to add it to the wrong tool within the dashboard. If you go on the left-hand side, you'll probably find a link to the header. But again, I'm not sure. So either get a Mrs. Google and just type into the Google search and get an answer, or you could try and see if you can get Jim's attention in the group. Or otherwise, whatever the theme you're using, if it's Generate Press, write in customer support and ask that question.
Okay, great. Thank you. People are saying thank you very much. This is excellent. I know we've hit our 4 p.m. mark. And a lot of the questions that we have left here are technical. So, guys, go on Facebook, collaborate with that stuff, and ask the techies the techie questions.
And remember, just to wrap it up, you've got till 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Sunday, March the 1st. And remember again, there's only one way to submit for review, and that is through the Week 7 tab on your dashboard. You cannot submit through Facebook. You cannot submit by email. There's one route. And then this time next week, well, we're wrapping up this time next week, but next Tuesday will be the fun time when we get to see all the amazing stuff people have created. So super excited and pumped to see what's going to come out of that.
Okay, great. Well, thank you, Nick.
You're welcome, and thank you, everyone. These are long sessions, so thank you for sticking around. Okay, and I look forward to next week. And thanks, Cameron, as always.
Thank you, Nick. Talk to you soon.
Bye-bye.